Hey guys, welcome to a quick little video I was going to put together about the Sentra. Basically, I'm just going to go through and I'm going to get the car up on jack stands today and get underneath it, pull the wheels off, look around, take some pictures, trying to get an inventory of what's on the car. It's kind of a hodgepodge of parts. I think it has NX2000 front brakes on it, and I'm pretty sure the rear disc brake conversion is not original. Obviously, so I got to figure out if it's using Maxima calipers or whatever it's using, and then just go over some little shit. So the battery I'm gonna swap out to the smaller battery, which I have here. I had this in the Sentra, the Dynabat, so I'm gonna try and figure out how to mount that. Some other little stuff I need to do. So the original AC condenser is pretty fried. It's got overspray on it from when the car was terribly painted. And fins are not exactly straight anymore, so I'm just going to get a new one off of Rock Auto and get that installed, and then I'm going to replace all of the O-rings in the AC lines and hopefully get the AC working in this thing. Little shit, I noticed this down here. So the car has, really, if you can see it, has an aftermarket radiator in it, but it's pushing the fans back, and as you can see, maybe like right here, one of the bolts for that heat shield there is actually touching the header, and it's rubbing a hole in it. I don't see any soot, so I don't think it's rubbed through it yet, but that is one of the things that needs to be addressed. Definitely need to figure out what to do with this intake because it's rather janky. And then so these plugs right here are for the VDL activation, which is obviously not hooked up and not working at the moment. That is on my to-do list soon. Basically, I just need to get either an MSD RPM actuated switch box to run that, or there's actually a company that sells a custom harness for that. I'll have to get a Nismotronic or a Nistronic, I can't remember, board soldered to the stock ECU, and then I can have it tuned. So all in, probably looking at about $600 or $700 to get that done. That is definitely on my list. And then over here, I went to the junkyard and I got a clutch pedal from a 99 Altima. And we've got a slave cylinder here, and I need to change this fork or the rod out in the transmission. So the transmission is going to have to come out for that, which is not a big deal. And then I bought some, these are for the AC condenser, the rubber seats that go to the bottom. So I'll do that when I replace the condenser. So I'm gonna get this thing up on jack stands, and we'll get underneath it and look around and just see what's going on. All right, so I can see a little bit of seepage from the fill plug right there, but not terrible. I don't know if I've got a rear main leak or not. It's kind of hard to tell. Trans is coming out anyway, so that's not a big issue if it needs to be done. Aftermarket bushings on the sway bar, but they're so covered in oil they're probably no good anymore. Looks like aftermarket control arm bushings, at least on the front. Look how close that tie rod is to the CV shaft. Axle seal definitely leaking. Looks like aftermarket bushing on the shift lever too. And they did a number on the chassis. I don't know if you can see it from jacking it up. The pinch weld is all folded over, and they went to jacking up the floor, so it's all dented in. It looks like they tried on the actual frame rail a few times, which is a no-no on unibody cars. Straight through exhaust, which I'm most likely going to add a resonator to that. Aftermarket bushings on the steering rack. And I'm going to replace the high pressure line on the rack with a single braided line and get rid of all the extra mess. Alright, small update. So I've got the battery out, and I'm just kind of working in and disconnecting some things, removing the power cable that went for the crappy sub that's in the trunk that I'm going to throw in the trash. just took some pictures of miscellaneous things like the number on the distributor here and the idle control valve, and just so I can try and get a sense of what the car has on it. I even took a picture of the serial number on the engine block, so I can try and figure out which version of the VE it is and where it came from. I just gotta say, like, looking at the underside of this thing, like, you could tell a lot of work went into this car. The engine swap, the transmission, all the suspension bushings, the sway bars, like, you can tell some work went into it, but you can also tell they cut some corners, and they really just, at some point, which is true for a lot of project cars, is that people will build them and then they will just lose interest and just let them go. And that's, you know, the CV boot on the driver's side is completely ripped off, so I'm going to have to replace that. Both CVs, actually, the outer boots look like they're crushed, so I don't know if these CVs are too long. I got to find out which ones are the right axles to put in. Just go through and clean everything up. The rear main might be leaking. The power steering pump is leaking for sure, which I might just replace that. The axle seal is definitely leaking. The CV boot's done. So it's going to take me a little bit to get everything cleaned up and replaced. I'm going to pull the transmission out. And I got to tell you, like, you know, the garage, this tells you about how much space that I have to work with here, which is a little better than the Elantra. This car is smaller than the Elantra, so it's a little offset to the driver's side a little bit here, but I have definitely more room to work. I could put the car up on 4 jack stands and still have room, a little bit of room to walk in front of it. At some point, I'm going to have to put the back on the ground and then jack the front up as high as I can get it, because I'm going to have to pull the transmission out from the bottom. So it's not going to be easy, and we're getting into the summer season in Arizona. It's already 95 degrees today. As you can tell, this is all I have for airflow right here, is this little fan. I saw something at Walmart that you can just plug in that is supposed to be like a mini AC device or something. I might try to get that. But trying to do all this work in the Arizona summer heat in this garage that has no ventilation, no AC, and not much working room is going to be... I've done it before in the past with the Elantra, and doing stuff like pulling a whole transmission out is going to be... is not going to be fun. So I want to get the car on the road as soon as I can, but there's 2 issues. 1, all this work that needs to be done, and 2, I'm still trying to get the title set so I can get it registered, because the guy I bought it from never registered it in his name after he bought it. So the title was still in the previous owner's name, and that person accidentally signed the bottom of the title for lien release, which they were not supposed to. So I had to send the title back to the guy I bought the car from. So he's trying to hopefully get a new title put in his name so that he can send that to me, and then I can get the car registered. So it's a clusterfuck, but it's not a huge deal, because, like I said, this is going to need a lot of work before I can actually, you know, I can drive it right now, but it should not be driven, and it's not going to be driven until I'm finished with it. So I'm going to take my time, go through, do as much as I can to get it to a point where I'm happy with it, and then we'll hit the toge. Whether that's the middle of summer or the end of summer, I don't know. I'm just going to do a little bit when I can, maybe 2 or 3 hours a day, not spend too much time out here because it's going to be way too hot. We'll get it done. So I'll definitely update you guys when we get into starting to drop the transmission and getting a bunch of other stuff replaced. So yeah, I'll keep you guys updated.